Good afternoon. Here we go on a Tuesday, and last night we got to witness the Buffalo Bills take on the New England Patriots to finish Week 16, and now we are 1 week away from the NFL playoffs. Today we're going to talk about that Bills and Patriots game, and then we're going to talk about Dwayne Haskins. So, are you ready to get your fix? Well, last night we saw the Buffalo Bills travel to Foxborough to take on the Patriots, and to note, earlier in the year or before the season started, actually, they had I think it was Fox Sports put out a bracket of who are the best team or best fans in the NFL, or what's the best fan base in the NFL, and the Buffalo Bills ended up winning that tournament, if you will, and so to as a stipulation, if you won that tournament, Fox Sports Bet or Fox Bet gave that fan base or that organization a billboard to put wherever they pleased. Well, the Bills put it, I think it was like a couple miles or like a mile or two outside of Foxborough, right outside of New England territory. So that's kind of, a little, funny in a way. So it's a way they've been the same division. Buffalo's just saying, hey, we got the best fans. You guys might have had that 20-year span, but we still got the best fans in the NFL. So I thought I'd just put that out there a little bit. But I don't know about you, but I already kind of knew last night that the Bills are going to walk away victorious. And last night we saw Josh Allen come in and torch that Patriots defense. Josh Allen, he has thrown for 4 touchdowns in 4 games this season, and he has only 2 games with no touchdowns. Okay, Josh Allen's really, really good quarterback, and earlier in the year, he was actually in that MVP race, and then he got out of it. But now he's right back in that race, but I'm still set on Rodgers. Nobody's going to pass Rodgers. I think the way Rodgers has, performed this year is just next level. Yeah, other quarterbacks are doing very, very well around the league and deserve some recognition as well. But Rodgers is right there. I think Josh Allen's second or third, right behind Mahomes or right above Mahomes. But, I still have Rodgers winning just because of what he's done, like I said, compared to Josh Allen. And now last night, the Patriots, okay, they had a tough time stopping that Bills offense. And when you look back in history, Bill Belichick is known for having a really solid defenses and top-tier defensive backs. So it's really weird when we got a Patriots defense that's, lacking the playmaking ability, lacking, really good coverage in that secondary. They had Stephon Gilmore, who last year and the year before that, I honestly think was the best man-to-man coverage guy there. He had a lot of pass deflections. He doesn't get too many picks. He gets maybe two to four a year, but it's just weird. They lacking that playmaking ability. Now, it's not all the defense's fault by any means, okay? Because offensively, just like last year and the year before that, a little bit, they have nothing on offense. Last year, Tom Brady had 24 touchdowns and 8 picks, okay, with this Patriots team. Cam Newton right now only has 5 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions, and he also has ran for 12 touchdowns. Now, having more rushing touchdowns than passing tells me one thing. The New England Patriots don't have a serious weapon at the wide receiver position or at the running back position or at that tight end position. I mean, their top receiver this year, at least in my eyes, and from what we've heard from game to game, who's that number one receiver that's always getting the ball? Well, it's Jacoby Myers. Okay, and the man is only 661 yards with no touchdowns this year. Okay, Devontae Adams has 17 touchdowns this year, and that's more than double what all of their Patriots wide receivers have, which is 8. 8 touchdown catches. The only other guy that is somewhat a force catching the ball is James White, and he's a running back. He's the main guy at running back. Okay, the Patriots have a problem making big plays, and you can't do it when you don't have a serious weapon. Okay, the only way they get big plays is they get some really good blocking, which they have a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. Those wide receivers might be lacking a little bit blocking wise, but still, New England has some issues. But I do think they need to focus on the offense rather than defense, because defensively they're just fine. Okay, and have a really good rookie defensive back in J.C. Jackson, who I believe has 4 picks this year or something like that, and he's going to grow even more into next season and be that top tier defensive back for that New England defense. Okay, but this team has no weapons, and they know it. We know it. Everybody knows it. they just got to figure it out. They got to go do it. I know Bill, that's not his identity going in the draft. He doesn't want to go get that wide receiver, those top tier guys. That's just not what he does. He always gets those, diamonds in the rough and makes them, great, makes them good. But the NFL is changing. Things could change. You can't always go get those diamonds in the rough because sometimes it just doesn't pan out. And I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of these, wide receiver, these skill position players, is they're just not, adding up to being what they should be. Now, Josh Allen and the Bills, they continue to show why they're a playoff team, okay? And why, at least in my eyes, they're the number one team in the NFL, despite the fact that the Chiefs have only lost one game this year. I just think the Chiefs, they should have more losses, but they found a way to win. They have a lot more close games where the Bills, when they lose, they lose, okay? But when they win, and they let you know they win. They don't just win by a couple points here and there. No. They're going to come out there. They're going to beat you by 1 or 2 touchdowns or 2 field goals or something like that. They're going to make it a deficit or at least a 2-possession game. That's what the Bills do. That's what they're good at. And that's why they're the number one team in the NFL, at least in my eyes. Now, we'll see how that goes come to playoffs if they end up playing each other. But, hey, the Bills, they're the real deal, okay? And Stephon Diggs is having a really good year, 120 catches with over, I think, 1,350-some yards this year receiving, both first in the NFL. Dude's good, okay? But we'll see where it takes him and how the playoffs, end up going. So, finally, let's talk about Dwayne Haskins. I bring Haskins up because yesterday the Washington football team decided to release him after only being on the team for just 2 seasons. And in those 2 seasons, Haskins has 60.1 completion percentage with 2,804 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 14 picks. Now, this stat line sounds, kind of bad, but at the same time, he really wasn't given too big of a chance. I mean, he did, but at the same time, he wasn't. And I know he's not a Patrick Mahomes, not a Tom Brady, not a Russell Wilson, he's not that, okay? And I think that's what people are getting wrong is they're looking at him like, dude, you were drafted 15th overall. You should be great. You should be at least good. You should be doing something, winning games, but you're not. And I think they're comparing him to, those big names, those big quarterback names. Yeah, in the NFL, you want to be that great player. You want that quarterback to be good, okay? But you have to give him a chance. I mean, Tom Brady was a third-string quarterback in Michigan State or in Michigan. Come all the way to be the starter, gets drafted in the last pick of the draft, and bam, he had a 20-year, span of dominance. What's it to say that Haskins can't do that? I understand it's the NFL. It's a lot different. But he needs a little bit more of a chance. And I do think Haskins has that potential, and obviously Washington thought the same thing when they drafted him, first round with the 15th pick 2 years ago. But anyways, I think releasing Haskins was a good idea because it gives Washington a chance to look at other quarterbacks in the market, either coming into the league or either hitting that free agency market. Just kind of give him a different option. They got Alex Smith back there. I don't know how well he's going to continue to perform. He did really, really well this year. He's probably my vote for comeback player of the year. The man won, I think, 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3, something like that, games. And that's really good, okay? Because I think Alex Smith, if he wasn't there, Washington wouldn't be in the playoffs. Okay, I think he's the big reason why they're actually currently winning or leading their division and are currently on their way to the playoffs, which could go away, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Washington's going to be just fine. But it also gives Haskins a chance to get a different organization, okay, to go to a different organization, possibly excel. Now, this morning I seen a post, that said, there's 4 logical landing spots for Haskins, and those 4 teams were the Steelers, Rams, Seahawks, and Titans. Okay, well, right away I can tell you that the Seahawks and the Titans won't be the teams that take Haskins. Just because, Seahawks, they got Russell Wilson, Super Bowl winning quarterback, or 8 out of 9 winning seasons, or something like that. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember if he's played 12 or 9. But the man is just too good for, to let him go, to be like, hey, we got this guy, he's a backup, which that's what Haskins would be, is in that backup role, but why would you need that? Russell stays healthy 24/7. So Seahawks are going to take him. Titans, Ryan Tannehill. The last 2 seasons, he's had the best years of his career since coming off the Miami Dolphins. I mean, this guy is flat out balling. Okay, Ryan Tannehill, at least in my eyes, is probably in the top 5 for MVP race, probably top 6, somewhere around there. He's right there. This man hasn't been talked about enough this year, and half that has to do with my fault, a lot of other sportscasters' faults, because we're not talking about him. We're seeing Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry's taken over that team, but it's really both Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. But however, I think the Rams might think about it, even though Jared Goff is just fine, and the Rams only have a running problem. And they got to fix that in order to be consistent and good, which I think they will. The one team that really out of this four that really makes sense is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I say that because Big Ben is at the end of his career, okay, and is more than likely going to retire either after this season or after next season. At least that's what I'm thinking. It has an injury problem. Okay, I think the Steelers could take a chance on Haskins and give him a chance to really succeed on a team that really never loses. They haven't had a losing season since Tomlin's been the head coach there. I think it's been 14 years now. And plus, if Big Ben decides to stay for one more season, that gives Haskins a chance to learn under one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game. Okay, and that could help his game out tremendously. I know if I were to learn from Tom Brady, I'd learn a few things here and there. I wouldn't be a great quarterback. Trust me, that wouldn't happen. But, I'd learn something. I'd be more intellectual. I'd know the game a little bit better. And that's what Haskins needs. I think that's what will help his game a little bit more. Now, Haskins has potential to play in this league, okay, but he just might be a late bloomer. Now, Washington is now in the mix to find a quarterback, and Haskins will find a home after this season is over, and I can almost guarantee that. Well, that's going to end our discussion today, as now we are in the final week of the 2020 NFL season, and boy, has it flown by, and but it's been a good one. I love this season. Right now, going into this week, we have 5 10-5 teams in the AFC that one of those 10-5 teams are going to miss the playoffs. So, we don't really see that too often, but when we do, it's kind of like, wow, you're 10-5. They could finish 11-6, and one of them's probably going to miss the playoffs, or not 11-6, 11-5. So, it's just one of those kind of crazy scenarios that's kind of fun to watch. One of those storylines. It's kind of cool. So but I'm just ready for playoffs to start up, because anything can happen and anything will happen. It's just a matter of time. And when the Minneapolis Miracle, stuff like that, that's just, it's playoffs. You're 0-0, no winning record, no losing record. It's a fresh start, except for that number 1 seed who gets that bye into the divisional round. But anyways, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you tomorrow with the power rankings, and you just got your fix with the Wicks.